Hello Animorphs fans and welcome back to the Animorphs Reviews YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk Animorphs Movie. And it's actually quite a controversial topic, which I don't really do very often on this channel. But I think we can all agree that Hollywood likes to drum up a bit of controversy. So I think it's an inevitable talk, so we might as well have it now. Wokeness, right? Firstly, what is wokeness? And the question that we're eventually going to want to answer, or at least attempt to answer with this video, is do we think that Animorphs will fall into the wokeness trap as a movie or a TV series or whatever, okay? That's obviously loaded with baggage, just that statement alone, okay? So before we go into any of that, let's just try to keep this civil, because I'm not here to freaking stoke any fires or whatever. I actually want us to come to agreements, and I want us all to also to consider other points of view, okay? So firstly, I'm going to offer my definition of what wokeness is, or what it entails, okay, when it comes to visual media such as movies or television shows or what have you. I think wokeness is largely it's a diversity thing, or something that's shrouded in this layer of diversity, and it does so largely to put across political messages to an extent. So much so that the base story, the base plot of whatever work it is actually doesn't benefit. It's actually detrimental to that base plot. Look at recent works, for example. I mean, the most recent, in fact, very current one that I can think of is that new show Velma, which a lot of people will say is wokened or woked or whatever it is. Why do they say that? What are the traits of that Velma show that we've probably all seen things about? What is it that makes it woke? My dear?
Sacrificing plot to include everybody?
Sacrificing plot to include everybody? Yeah, I think to an extent. By the way, I haven't actually seen the show. I've seen clips of people talking about it, and I've seen loads of clips on the actual show. But, for example, basically all the characters are race swapped, except for Fred, who, because he's white, is now a complete douchebag. Yeah, that's... And most people will look at that and say, that sounds like something the wokies have produced. And you'd probably be right. Everything's got this racial tint to it. And not just because it's race swapped, as in a lot of the dialogue within that show will be based around, oh, I'm black, or I am white, or I am Bolivian, or I am a grapefruit, you know. Identity politics, I think, is what I'm circling around here. Identity politics, and a lot of it is like that. And there's a lot of social justice overtones to a lot of stuff, including things like Velma. You've got She-Hulk, Rings of Power, the new Star Wars movies, Doctor Who, Star Trek, basically all the sci-fi and fantasy shows. You know, the genre that, or section of genres that Animorphs falls into. What's wrong with wokeness in media? Well, I think I've already covered the problem in that it takes a story and actually meddles with the story to make it more... almost to deliberately make it controversial. They... like in Velma, where they changed Velma into I think, correct me if I'm wrong, an Indian lesbian. I think she might be bisexual, actually. And Daphne is now Asian. Shaggy is now a black man who doesn't take drugs. Okay. Because, let's face it, everyone knows that Shaggy takes drugs. But now he doesn't. And he's a black man, and Scooby-Doo no longer exists. He's probably breathing a huge sigh of relief right now. But it's the same with all these other shows, and largely it falls into the whole girl power thing, which is fine. Usually, Animorphs has that. Animorphs does have that, and it's absolutely fine. It's when it becomes central to your character. That's what it all comes down to. This whole thing about diversity in media, that's fine. But sometimes you know it's to fill quotas, firstly. And secondly, it's to be a major part of the plot. I've forgotten what I was actually talking about. I can't for the life of me remember. But I remember that I was along the lines of talking about diversity being A-OK. I mean, look at Animorphs. It was naturally diverse. It's when it becomes the major issue. And they then adjust the plot to cover for that new major issue that, let's face it, is modern identity politics, which, give it 20, 30 years, people look back on and think, what the hell were they doing? What were they on about? And I think that's why a lot of films these days and TV shows will probably be very dated for that reason. And a lot of it, you know, you can see where it's coming from, but a lot of it is bollocks. And I think the reason a lot of it is bollocks is, well, it's deliberate. Why does Hollywood keep producing this stuff even though anybody who's not from Portland actually hates, that doesn't like, or Brighton and Portland basically make up the whole the whole group of people that like these woke shows. They just come from those two places, as far as I'm concerned, and bits of London. Yeah. Nobody likes them. And a lot of times you see that on review websites, and there's usually like a massive divide between the critics and audience, but the audience tends to dislike it, especially when it's an old franchise. I think the problem is they race swap or gender swap or make all these characters gay that are already established characters rather than making their own. So instead of actually putting the effort into making their own characters, they just hijack another character and change them completely.
Listen to me.
When did I listen to you? When did you say that? My memory is going crap today, isn't it?
You're absorbing things I say and not knowing it. It's working.
That's how women work. They are evil creatures. They implant their messages into the man's head. Well done, my dear. Yeah, they don't make their own characters. They decide to ruin established characters. But so, for instance, they'll make a character who was well known, turn them into, I don't know, an Eskimo, and then instead of the character doing the normal things that you'd expect from them, they suddenly go, well, I'm an Eskimo, and that's the major part of my character now. It's like, no, that was never the major part of your character. Shut up. Get on with doing what you're meant to be doing. I think that's the gist of it, and that's why people don't like this woke stuff. And I think it is deliberate. I think if you look at YouTube, for example, what gets the most views? Something getting praised or something getting criticised?
Outrage porn.
Outrage porn, as Pebble says. So, is Hollywood churning out this shit? Churning out all this woke rubbish? Why are they doing that if they know it's not going to be popular? It's because people love to complain about it. They do. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself, aren't I, dear?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You watch so much stuff about people bitching.
Yeah, I do. Honestly, I watch a lot of Nash gabbing on YouTube.
I hate it.
I know. But it is entertaining. It is modern entertainment. Maybe these companies are churning out this rubbish so that they make money by more subversive means by somehow raking in the criticism money. Were you about to say something, my dear?
I was going to say that making fun of other people shouldn't be entertainment.
I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be, but it always has been. Even Shakespeare. Even the Romans. Even the Greeks used mockery as a form of
We're
humour.
still not civilized.
We never will be civilised, especially you.
I'll be a tit.
See what you do in your spare time.
Okay.
Learning Japanese!
Making you delicious food.
And making me delicious food. Yeah. Actually, you're quite sophisticated. Am I the cretin? I'm the cretin. This is a revelation I didn't foresee. Isn't that right, Fluffer? Anyway, where were we? Yeah, I think largely this whole woke phenomenon is deliberate, and the people pushing it don't actually believe in the ideas they're pressing. They are deliberately doing it and overdoing it to the point where they think, yeah, we're really going to divide people here, because you get the one side, like the genuine woke people, saying, if you criticise this in any way, you're this ism and that ism and ism. And then you get the other side of the coin saying, clearly they're taking the piss now, you know. How can you fall for this? You get these two sides combating. And let's get serious now. There is a lot of division in this world at the moment. And look at the WEF, always predicting by 2030 everyone will hate each other, whatever Klaus Schwab's voice is like. They are predict the elites of the world, like the big unelected big guns, like the official big guns. They're all saying that the world is going to be a messy, divided place within the next 10 years.
They're doing that.
They're doing that. And what better way to do it than by just little bit at a time, little bit. Things like Hollywood constantly churning out this woke stuff that is dividing people further and further. They're doing it deliberately. They want people riled up. We need to see who our true freaking enemies are here.
If we're not angry at them, we'll be angry at other people.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's a bit conspiracy-minded of me, and I may very well be wrong, but I do get the feeling that a lot of this is deliberate to get people divided, to get people fighting, to get them calling each other horrible names. And I'm guilty of falling into that trap many a time and telling myself I shouldn't be doing that, and then falling right back into that trap. And for that, I apologise, and I
forgive you.
Thank you, my dear. I haven't fallen into that trap regarding you, though. I've always loved you. Your hair is like a stream of beauty, falling like the most beautiful waterfall from your beautiful head. What I'm trying to say is you're fucking lovely, right? Well, where was I? Yeah, we need more of that. I need to say to people of different freaking ideologies than me, you're fucking beautiful, right? That's our true enemy. Like Animorphs said.
Even Scientologists.
Even Scientologists, my dear. Maybe not Honda Jazz drivers. That's going too far, though. Yes. Yeah, like in Animorphs, the enemy of the enemy is my friend. And this is, what's it? Not grapevine. An olive branch, that's it. Grapevine, olive branch, basically the same thing. Olive branch to all the people there who probably, there are a few of you in the Animorphs community that don't like me. This is my genuine olive branch to you moment of saying, look, the true enemy is actually out there, and they are dividing us. And this whole woke thing, I think, is part of the reason that's happening. We need to freaking unite and tell them to stuff it. Okay? The people that are trying to divide us, like genuinely, who are actually at the top of the freaking world, unelected, and saying you will all be divided. You'll all hate each other within the next 10 years. And this is our solution that we earn money from. Yeah, I mean, this video's gone on a massive tangent now. Let's bring this back to Let's rein it back in, my dear. Just calm down for a minute. Is Animorphs going to be woke? I'm not too sure. For all the rambling I've just gone on and the probably unnecessarily political tangent I've gone on, I suppose it's a necessarily political thing. Will Animorphs be woke? If we go by the definition of woke that I've given, which is basically a very long definition, summarised, it basically means social justice, political identity politics shoved into media, like shoved in your faces, typically very left-wing. Is Animorphs going to be that? Well, thing is, Animorphs already has a diverse cast. And like I said to you last time we attempted this video, my dear, didn't notice. Went reading the book as a kid. Didn't notice. I mean, I knew Cassie was black. I knew Marco was...
Well, I didn't care.
I knew Marco was... I didn't really understand what a Latino was when I was like a kid, but I knew that he wasn't white. But it just didn't really factor into anything. It was just, oh, okay. We need to be more like that.
All the stuff they're doing nowadays is dividing people even more, and it's not
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But yeah, Animorphs already has the diverse cast. Maybe they'll turn Jake into... maybe they'll turn Jake into a Nigerian warlord
Maybe.
called Barney, and he'll be gay and lesbian.
No, he won't be any gender.
He won't be any gender, but he'll also be gay, lesbian, and a cactus. He'll be a cactus kin, or whatever the kids are doing these days. But maybe they'll do that. But as far as I'm concerned, the cast is... what you got? You got... I'm assuming Cassie's ancestry is African, so she'll probably be African-American. You've got Tobias, who... yeah, bird. Rachel and Jake are both... Jewish. Marco is Latino. And Axe is a space alien. So I'd say that's relatively diverse, considering...
Yeah, Axe
pretty
is
diverse.
blue. I mean, that's pretty
He's
diverse.
blue, yeah, he's blue, right? So I don't think Animorphs... I hope Animorphs doesn't go through that whole, oh, everyone needs to have a race or gender swap or whatever, because you don't need it. You don't need it. And plus they're 13, 14. If you start talking about their freaking sexuality, then you need to go right to jail. Right to jail. As far as the other aspects of wokeness, like the social justice thing, they're fighting freaking space aliens. If they start harping on about that in a movie, which I'm assuming they were doing, which would be 1.5 hours of a massive 64-book thing, I'll just see it as time wasted, honestly. Be like, just crack on with the plot. You've got plenty of to fit in already. Well, my opinion on whether it should happen is different to whether it will happen. Thing is Animorphs well known enough? So you've got things like Velma, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, Star Wars, the Hulk, Doctor Who. They're massive franchises which these woke cult things have sort of latched onto, and basically like a parasite. It's like a yerk, isn't it? Just go into the heads of these franchises and turn them to their will. Basically what it is. And but I don't think Animorphs isn't well known enough. I mean, people have it in the back of their heads, but mostly it's just a meme at this point. So if they really wanted to get Animorphs kick-started, they've got to do it like basically from takeoff. It's not as if they're a franchise already flying high and they can just do what frickin' ever and get people into the cinemas. They want to produce a quality product. And so I think there's a good chance that it won't be woke any more than it already was, because there are some aspects of the woke ideology that is absolutely fine, and that Animorphs did include stuff on. There was some stuff that, like for instance, the V-Col thing, where Axe was basically he hated disabled people, but Marco came in and said, "Shut up." So yeah, there were bits of wokeness in there, but there was also Axe being anti-disabled. And it's not like he turned around at the end and said, "I like disabled people now." You're still like, "Yeah, I still feel the same way." But that was the beauty of Animorphs. It was real. It was freaking real. And if Hollywood decides to change that, then I would be disappointed. If they took away that gritty 90s realism and turned everything into a social justice malaise, a quagmire of wokery. Yeah. So I hope it doesn't. And actually, I'm wavering on 50-50 that it will be woke. If they put a bit in it, that's fine. As long as you don't mess with the basic plot and the characters. basically the whole thing, I suppose. As long as the plot is, you know, solid, and the characters act like the characters do in the books, as long as they're not like in 37, I'll be happy. Just don't mess with the fundamentals, which is what this woke ideology seems to want to do. It wants to change everything, right? It wants to turn it into something new for modern audiences. Well, I'm not a modern freaking audience. The other day, right, I'm 31. The colleagues at work, they said I looked 37. They're dead now, but the point still stands, right? That upset me greatly. What was my point again?
Do you ever have one?
No, I don't. I've been rambling a lot lately. I think it's part of my old age. Maybe I am 37. Maybe I'm 57. Fluffer, I'm almost as old as you. She says nothing. She is wise. Her silence speaks louder than any word. Stop nash gabbing. Right, that's enough for this video. I've been nash gabbing for too long now. I love that word. I keep using it now. Nash gabbing. Right. Yeah, so I genuinely hope that people can start to come together. And I know that sometimes I'm being guilty of not helping that situation, but genuinely, I think we need to consider who our real enemies are. And I don't think it's the woke people. I think they've been tricked, frankly, by people who want to deliberately divide us. And I hope Animorphs isn't yet another tool by which they do so. That's definitely not what I want to see. I want to see an Animorphs movie bring people together in enjoyment. You're having fun dying over there, my dear. See, you criticised me. You said I looked 32, and therefore I put poison in your green tea. And now you are falling toward the pieces. Yes, I do look older than you. Yes. Right, I'm going to go have some firm words with my wife before getting quite neatly shunted back into my place. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Try to, if you do get involved in comments and there's a bit of a bickering, please do try to keep it civil. That's the point of this. You know, there have probably been strong words in here, but I'm like my dad. I've got strong opinions. I'm just trying to keep it as civil as possible, and I'm trying to redirect our focus onto what really matters, which is basically, you know, the unelected twazzocks at the top, right, who need sorting out. You know, you need to be told to shut up and put a freaking sock in it, right? If we can unite on that message, then I think that's worth it, okay? So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Ta-ra.